Hello and good evening, everyone. My name is Molly Higgins. I'm a Solle specialist, and I am here tonight to talk about Solle and avoiding the spring allergies. I know I'm in a sweatshirt, but believe it or not, spring is here. It's the first day of spring today. So we are going to talk about some Solle stuff, some adaptogens, and how we can use these herbs, these wonderful tools to help avoid these springtime allergies that are always such a nuisance. So we're just going to get this rolling. So first we have Sarah Spencer. She's a Solle specialist with us. Sarah, tell us your experience with Solle and allergies.
Hi, everyone. So I found Solle back in January of 2019 because I was really looking to stop wanting the afternoon naps. And what I had found actually blew my mind. Tonight, we're going to talk a lot about the second Solle product that I had ever tried, our SolleVital, which turned out to be something that was actually truly vital in my journey to clearing up something that has plagued me my entire life. So since I was a little girl, I've suffered from terrible seasonal allergies with sinus infections on top of sinus infections. And I started drinking the SolleVital in January. And in March of that year, I knew my allergies were going to be bad. I knew it was time for me to have another sinus infection. I introduced another one of our Solle products, our Solle Clear SI, and together with the Vital, it has made such a profound impact in my day-to-day living and how I function. Not only does it provide me the mental clarity and the energy that I need all day long, but I truly feel it gives my body the nutrients that it needs to combat these seasonal distresses that I go through. And it's truly humbling to me to know that this one little green drink, which I was scared that it was green, guys, I truly was. And I tried it and I thought, you know what? This is going to be the one that's going to do it for me. And it has really made all the difference. I went from the sinus infection, allergy suffering queen to somebody who might get the sniffles, especially when those first maple and the whirlybirds start to fall. Guys, that's when it's going to do it to me every time. And that's when I know I can support my body a little extra and maybe take another Vital during the day and increase my other herbs and know that I'm going to get through another allergy season without any pharmaceuticals or anything that's going to hinder my body from actually doing what it needs to do. And it has been a very welcome addition to my life. So
what a great testimony. It's great. You just being able to give your body what it needs so that it can do what it's meant to do, right?
Exactly.
So awesome. Thanks for sharing. So I know we got started with that. We're going to move on to our little educational piece. So all the Solle products have adaptogens in it. We have Erica Sanchez tonight to talk to us a little bit about adaptogens. Erica has a background in biomedical research with a bachelor's in microbiology, immunology, psychology, and a master's in psychology, doing postgrad research on addictions. So hi, Erica, how are you?
Hi, thank you so much, Molly. And I absolutely loved your testimonial share, Sarah, because that kind of really takes me back. So I've actually been using these Solle products for a little over 5 years. And I live in what most people say is the allergy capital of the world, right here in Central Texas. We literally have allergies, not seasonally. Our season is 365 days a year. There's always something to be allergic to. And I will tell you that since I started Solle, I never have allergies anymore, right? Like everybody around me is sniffling and sneezing, but I've never had that problem. So I loved your testimonial as well. But let's dive right in and talk about what exactly makes these formulas here so, for no other word, like magical, right? And that's actually the adaptogens. Now, adaptogens are basically these, what I like to call magic plants, right? And they're adaptogenic herbs. And the herbs themselves have been around since, well, whenever plants started on this earth. But the classification for adaptogens really didn't get started studying until about the 70s. And they actually created the classification of adaptogens in the 90s, and they actually created like this framework for what adaptogens really are. But basically, they're non-toxic plants that help our body to adapt to stress. And this helps us to maintain balance in our body. So anytime that our body is out of balance, we have, physical, emotional, mental, different symptoms that, present as different things. And so we call these things like different illnesses or, symptoms or whatever. But basically, everything comes back to it's just an imbalance in our body somewhere, right? And so these adaptogens help our body to resist all of the physical, environmental, emotional, and mental stressors that we're constantly bombarded with all the time. And these herbs do that in several different ways. So on the next slide, there's several different things that we use to classify adaptogens. They have to be safe for daily use and in the quantity needed. Now, this is really important because we all have like different challenges at different levels, right? And so some of us may require more of something than others, right? And so it's really important that whatever formula or supplement that we're using, we can actually use enough of it to actually get a result, right? Because that's really what it's all about. We want to feel better and we want to be able to use enough of it to be able to do that. So we know that these adaptogen formulas, we can do that with. They also have a wide variety of medicinal plant components. So I like to think of that as just all different kinds of nutrients that your body really needs. And sometimes they have really fancy like chemical names or alphabet letters and different things like that. But basically, these have a whole bunch of those nutritional components in them. And then another thing is it balances the functions of both the mind and the body, right? Because it's working on the entire system, bringing it into balance all at the same time. And it helps to strengthen the immune system. Now, what's so cool about this is our immune system works like a teeter-totter, right? And so these adaptogens, whatever is needed, like if our teeter-totter is like higher on one end, or if it's higher on the other end, whatever is needed is exactly what these plants and our body is going to use them in exactly the way it needs. And so how do they really work though? So one of the things I like to say is that there's no like just magic formula. And so we'll go to the next slide. And there's all different benefits of adaptogens, right? So we have that it's reducing the impact of stressors. It's improving resiliency to recover, specifically like if we are starting to feel a little ill, like our immune system is a little low, it helps us to do that. And they customize our benefit to match our particular needs at any given time. So this is like what I was saying, you can use it in the quantity that you need. And then regardless of whether you're, which way you need, whether you're really revved up or whether you're really depleted, adaptogens can really help you. So next slide. So how do these really work? Well, they really work they really have a effect on the HPA axis. And the way this works is that when you wake up in the morning, the way your body actually wakes up, the reason why you wake up is that your body receives like a cortisol pump. Now, cortisol is this hormone that is created in our adrenal glands, and it's used to help us to do different functions throughout the body. It's actually really important. But what happens is that sometimes our body's actually creating too much of it or not actually using it in the way it's supposed to be used in the body. So in the morning, what actually wakes us up, it's like our little natural alarm clock, is our cortisol gets a little bit of pump, and it just kind of wakes us up. And so it should be at a higher elevated level, right? And then as we go throughout the day, our body should be using that hormone up along the way to help us do different activities, right? Like, so different hormones that we need to be creating and different functions in our body that it needs to be creating. And so then at night, before we go to sleep, our cortisol levels should be a lot lower. And so that's what we see. And anytime we're like stressed, our body will like pump a little bit more cortisol out, right? And then it should naturally come back down. But what happens is that because of all of the stresses that we have going on in life, and the environmental stressors, the physical stressors, the kids crying in the background, the teenagers with all the things that they have to do, and then the full schedule that moms and dads and everybody has, we are usually not in the exact balance that we should be all the time. So the way these adaptogen herbs go in is that regardless of whether we need to bring it down or whether we need to bring it up, it will work in this section where it really provides that stress protection and helps us to stabilize our stress response. Now, this is important because we need to have a stress response, right? So, because that's how our body works naturally. But adaptogens help to stabilize that stress response so that we have more resiliency to stress in the end. And so what I really love about this is that it doesn't really matter which formula we have. Like, we don't have to worry about like, oh, is this the right one for this? Or is this the right one for this? Because whatever it is, whichever formula we're putting in, they will work. Like, the body will actually use the adaptogens that it needs in the way that it needs to use them. So that's why I like to say, although it's not actually magic, it kind of feels like magic.
Absolutely. And, I love how you mentioned the cortisol levels and how they kind of spike in the morning and then they're supposed to go down, but in everybody it's different, right? And so on the graph here, you kind of see that it's supposed to sort of taper off, but it's not like that for everyone. So the adaptogens really help your body to adapt to that. So thank you so much, Erica, for sharing that with us and teaching us a little bit. So that's sort of the educational component. We have Shauna on here. She's a Solle specialist too. Hi, Shauna.
Hi, everybody.
Hi. So Shauna's going to share with us her testimonial about SolleVital, and how that has helped her. So we'll take it away.
Hi. Sorry, I couldn't get my volume to work on my laptop suddenly. It's crazy. So
it's perfect now.
Yeah. In only 2 to 3 minutes, you guys, that's so hard for me because there's so much a part of my life. But when I started Vital in 2012, it was an immediate response for me. I was very, very ill and allergies. I'd been tested for everything in Kansas. The only thing that I didn't test positive for was cats and dogs, and I was so thankful. But I live on a farm in the middle of wheat fields. So as you can imagine, that just kind of put the icing on the cake. I thought, I've got nowhere to go but up, right? So when I started Vital, the chronic daily migraine started lifting within 2 to 3 days. And I thought I was dreaming. And I mixed the Vital and Cinemate together because I needed that one and done, and I needed it easy because my body was very overwhelmed. Mm-hmm. And so I would chug 2 of those by 10 o'clock in the morning, and I'd be good for the rest of the day. So, I just kept doing that, and it's still part of my daily regimen, although I do things differently. But the histamine effect for me, I think, was very, very great. And the mind and body connection was huge. I don't even want to tell you how huge that was, because when your body's so overloaded, that Vital comes in and it's immediate. I haven't met a person yet that it's not an immediate response, especially for allergies. And now we have Soul Clear. I mean, so we've got both. We have lots of tools, but the Vital for me is a staple. And since that, about 2 weeks into it, I was supposed to go in for an allergy injection, and I told him I didn't need it. And he thought I was crazy, but that was 2012, and I've not had one since, nor do I do prednisone. And
That's
I don't
incredible.
Yeah. And I don't have respiratory infections. I mean, I was in every 6 weeks for an antibiotic. So
Yeah.
it completely changed my life. People say that all the time, but it's real.
Yep. Just like Sarah said, it's that foundational drink with it just provides so much, and I've heard kind of over and over this mind body connection. Some people say they're two. Some people say it's just one entity, the mind body, the gut brain. The immune system is centered in the gut. And so by feeding it that foundation that is in Vital, and then being able to supplement with even more things, so clear, for example, it has the power to do so much. So thank you for sharing that with us, Shauna. That's really cool.
Thank you.
Yeah. So we have on tonight Greg Halliday. He is founder of and president of Solle Naturals. So hi, Greg. Welcome.
How you doing, Molly? And hello, everyone. Thank you
I'm good. Thanks. So, Greg, you've heard that we're talking about SolleVital quite a bit tonight. Why don't from your point of view, share with us a little bit about Vital?
I'd love to. And thanks, by the way. I've heard Shauna's experience, and she did to give you like the nutshell. It's such a great guidance, the way Shauna did it for so many people. And I do feel like people that deal with years and years of allergies feel like there's kind of like nothing I can really do, maybe help it a little, but there really is hope there. And Vital, I mean, you talked about the adaptogens, and Erica covered them tonight. They're a huge part of it. And Shauna mentioned, that mind part of allergies is huge. And I don't think most people look at them that way. There's such a huge digestive component too. But I wanted to share with you tonight, because in prepping for tonight, I reviewed another one of the presentations from Dr. Allison Caldwell Andrews on SolleVital, but what she focused on was the minerals in it. We don't always think about that. The adaptogens are huge, right? And the chlorophyll group is also huge. All of that has a lot to do with the allergies, and how, Shauna mentioned the histamine, balancing histamine response. That's a huge thing. People take over the counters for that all the time, and can cause some other ripple effect. Don't have to. There are great natural balancers of that, and Vital has a few of them. So if you don't mind, I am going to stare for a second. I'll try to stare and share, because I want to pull my notes up. Okay, these are just actually the direct slides from Allison's presentation. So she says, look, the mineral blend, we call it Sativa Min in SolleVital. That's 4 plants. I'll tell you which 4 they are: Avena sativa, nettle, and that is stinging nettle, burdock, and dandelion. Those are the 4 plants.
That's a powerful blend.
Yeah. And so those are extracts. They're not just the raw powders. So they have a higher concentration of the good stuff. And here's what Dr. Allison had to say about this blend. She said, something? There are a lot of nutritional nervines. So nervines have a direct effect on our nervous system, on our nerves, that whole neural response to things. And they can either be stimulating to the nervous system, or they can be calming to it. And we have a blend. We have one that kind of stimulates a little, one that calms a little. This is a balanced blend. It's green. So it's got that mixture of up and down to give us balance. And so here are just a couple of nuggets. Maybe this will explain why Vital is such a great add-in. And I think it's a core for allergy season, and really all year round for different reasons, but it's great for allergy season. So the oat straw, Avena sativa, really perhaps the best source of plant-sourced magnesium and vitamin A. In addition, besides all that, all of the B vitamins, except B12. So we do have other products with B12, but all the others, they're part of Avena sativa. Super important in nerve function. So what are some of the things that they talk about with vitamin A? It's actually, there's a metabolite of vitamin A called retinoic acid. That's actually a signaling molecule in our brains. And it regulates different gene products, and also nerve growth, neurogenesis, nerve survival, nerve flexibility. So I'm thinking about allergies, and what they do is they just tax us. It's kind of like constant bombarding, constant action and reaction, stimulation, and body trying to deal with that. Some of the nutrients, some of the reason Vital works so well are these particular nutrients that are in actually the oat straw, in the mineral blend, that help the body have much more neural, what I would say is neural strength. Also, deficiency in these B vitamins that I mentioned are always associated with more anxiety, more depression, cognitive decline. So there are direct brain benefits, brain changes that happen as part of this nutrition. Now, calcium is another one. It's a mineral that's a big reason we put this group together. Some of the things calcium does for us, our blood pressure, how well we clot, our blood can clot, how excitable our nerves are. I would call it like elasticity of nerve response, even how well the impulses go and are received. So it can be affected a lot with stress, calcium levels. So putting them back in the body every day, just doing that from a good source, from a plant source that's really bioavailable, makes a huge difference. One example of that Dr. Allison reminded us of is for our neuron cells to release neurotransmitters, they got to use calcium. And when we have good bioavailable calcium, the nerves work better, our reactions and our responses are better. Now, we don't have time tonight. I don't have time tonight to go down the list, but what she did, I'll just tell you what she did in this presentation. She went through all the key minerals that you're going to find that are this whole, let's call it the emotional, the brain side of this that Shauna referenced. And she listed them out by mineral, did Dr. Allison. So chromium's the next one. Very important. It's crucial for memory and in the brain. Magnesium's the next one she mentioned. Kind of everything, okay? It's needed by over 300 different enzymes. They need magnesium to do their thing. Works together with calcium. Helps our body utilize vitamin C and E and vitamin B6. We take blood samples of it, but only 1% of calcium is even stored there. So a blood test does not tell you much about your magnesium, but it is important for those gaps between nerve endings so that the nerves can communicate. Low calcium is always found when there are memory problems. Magnesium, low magnesium. It's corollary. It also protects against degenerative brain situations like Alzheimer's is a study that Dr. Allison cited. Direct response, a direct elevator of mood, decreasing the stress response, more magnesium, less headaches. I'm thinking of Shauna again. Waking up in the middle of the night, insomnia, magnesium. Next one is manganese. She talks about manganese and how similar it is to iron in its behavior. How it can alleviate the swings. If there's anything the adaptogen model shows me is that adaptogens and SolleVital is about minimizing the severity of the swings that happen in stress. I think the same thing could be said about allergy and allergic response. Minimizing the swings so the body can recover more quickly, prevent the wild swings both up and down. So lots of studies about that with manganese, by the way. Potassium, the second most abundant mineral in all of plants, Dr. Allison reminds us. And we don't have metabolism of so much of what we need to eat without potassium in the body. Critical for nerve signals. When we don't have much potassium, the nerves need more energy to even fire, to even respond. I'll stop there because I'm going on, but she goes on about selenium, she goes on about zinc, and how absolutely crucial they are for the brain. Why does she tell us about all this? Because these 4 herbs I mentioned that are part of sativa min, which is Avena sativa, the oat straw, nettle, burdock, and dandelion. Those 4, okay, they have other properties that play a role in this, but they are among, in fact, in a book, they're among the highest in their category in all these minerals. In fact, a really useful book in nutritional herbology, where Dr. Mark Pedersen took them into the lab, rated them all on low, very low, low, average, very high, or high and very high. So like a five zone scale. here's what he says about each of these 4 herbs and these minerals I just mentioned. Nettle. It's either high or very high in calcium, chromium, cobalt, magnesium, manganese, phosphorus, potassium, selenium, silicon, and zinc. All of those. Nettle is loaded with minerals, either high or very high. Avena sativa, calcium, chromium, iron, manganese, magnesium, phosphorus. Dandelion, iron, manganese, phosphorus. Burdock, a heart strengthener. Chromium, cobalt, iron, magnesium, phosphorus, potassium, silicon, zinc. So I know I'm staring a lot and sharing a lot of, of minerals, but all 4 of these, one of the big stories for Vital is those minerals. And I love that presentation, Dr. Allison. She kind of calls them nutritious nervines because they all have a direct impact on the whole nervous system side of health in general. And yes, of course, allergies as well.
Yeah, Greg, and all those minerals that you mentioned, people pay hundreds of dollars just to determine that they are low in those. And then they get IV injections and, all this stuff. And wouldn't it just be amazing to not have to invest all of that money, but to just take something that is going to help balance you out and to watch it work. And it's incredible. So I really enjoy that.
It's true. I think people do. They pay a lot for the urgent infusion when you can put trace amounts daily, avoid that whole thing. And it's sort of amazing to sit back and watch what the body can do with trace amounts when it gets them constantly. And everything.
Absolutely. That's awesome. Thank you. So this is Vital it's our foundational drink. I know you guys, that was one of the first products that you came with, you and the other founders of Solle. Can you tell us about the other founders of Solle?
Yes, I don't know exactly. That's a huge question. Is there something in particular that you want to know, or is it just in general?
Well, I guess, I would say just a little bit about how you guys work together. Solle is such a great organization. It's a great business. So kind of how you guys work together to come up with this.
Well, it's interesting because I can tell you, we first of all, we've known each other since well before Solle. And I think because of that friendship, always stayed in touch. When circumstances aligned where Solle became more than just an idea and we decided to found, it was very interesting to see the crossroads that various of the founders were in to make that happen. Had it come at a different time, say a few years before or a couple of years before or a couple of years after, that crossroads wouldn't have been there. So that's an interesting thing. But I think more than anything, it's just the trust that we have and we've always had that made it so we wanted to work together and do something meaningful. There are a lot of avenues that I believe that we can choose in life. I do believe we can choose several different good avenues. It's not always easy to pick the one that we want to fully commit to, but that's the way it was for us. If for those of you who maybe know Corey and Lon and Jordan, Kendall, these are individuals we've known each other for many, many years, decades, and we're just as comfortable today as we were then. That's important to me because trust and both in a relationship and also in the ability to make this better for everyone who's part of the Solle family is something that is so important to us. I haven't mentioned Blake, but I'll tell you one little story about Blake to end tonight. So I met Blake when he was just barely into college and was working part-time. Most people don't know this. He actually worked assembling in a prior company where we knew each other for 20 years before founding Solle. He assembled water purifiers. That was his first job in this company. His mother actually worked in the company as well, and I knew his mother before I knew him. In fact, one funny thing is in the lunchroom of this company, people, sometimes people, they bring their lunch and then they leave stuff in the refrigerator and it gets old and then the whole refrigerator stinks and tired of that. So someone had written a note that said, I don't know who wrote this. It said, your mother doesn't work here. Please clean your lunch out of the refrigerator. And actually Blake wrote on the bottom, actually, my mom does work here, because it's true. She did. But anyway, I met him. He was, after the water purifiers, he was working customer support. So Blake, one of the reasons he's so amazing is he worked on the phones helping people all around the country who were helping other people with health and herbs. And that's where he learned. Just as I learned, my first job was traveling to schools where we learned about the 9 body systems. And I quickly learned I knew 1/100th of what all the students learned. I just let them share what they did to help people, and I took notes. So that was our beginning all those years ago, 32 years ago. And
That's
Blake,
awesome.
while he was in this customer support, we did a survey to try to get to know all of our distributors better. And Blake is such a hard worker. He did his and came to me and said, I'm done with mine. Can I do somebody else's who hasn't finished theirs? And people that were slow, he did theirs too. So if you want to know about Blake and why he's over production and quality and all those relationships with suppliers, there's a great story, a little insight into the kind of individual he was. And actually that experience, I actually hired him away from that department over into mine, and we became close friends from there on out.
That's so great. I love hearing stories about you guys together because, I love Solle Naturals as a company in addition to the products that they sell. But, just hearing these very human, very real stories about you guys and sort of, how down to earth and caring you are and running this company, it just helps to, bring it back to earth and give us a little comfort in, who we're repping out there. So thank you,
That's
Greg,
the way we like it.
for everything.
That's right.
So as we're transitioning to talking a little bit more about the business, we do have Ashley Geigel on tonight. Hi, Ashley. Will you tell us a little bit about your testimony from the business side of things?
Sure, yeah. So just before Solle, I always had dreamed of like the day that that I could have the time and the extra income to let my kids do like those little fun extracurricular things that add up, right? So like guitar lessons, gymnastics, and this year we're encountering our first little dance or ballet for my youngest daughter. So and a little side note, I live in a town of 500 people, and our nearest Walmart is 45 minutes away. So not only do these things take the extra income, but you also have to have the gas to get there, right? So I just am so grateful because today, like after 3.5 years of being in my soul journey, those dreams like for my family have become a reality. And on top of that, on top of the activities that my kids get to enjoy, we've also had amazing experiences with traveling within the Solle company and just going to see our Solle siblings, our Solle family, right? So just overall, we're just extremely grateful for the opportunity that Solle has given us and just helped lighten the burden of some of those expenses. So yeah.
Thanks, Ashley. That's awesome. I in a town of 500, it's going to be tough to meet all of the people you've met working at a place in a small town like that. So I know that this has given you the opportunity to get to know others, me on the other side of the country for one. So Solle has great opportunities, a great Solle family. It says join the Solle family on your screen here. And that's because that's what it is. It's a family. Everybody here is wonderful. They're caring. They're in this for the right reasons. There are wonderful perks. I'm not going to lie. I know right now we're in the midst of qualifications for a trip to Costa Rica. And that's just one of the many opportunities that there are to meet these people who you talk with and converse with every day online. But you get to meet them in person and you get to share your love of Solle and forge friendships and, be become family. And that's really awesome. So reach out to the person who invited you on tonight. Also share your story. I know that many of the people watching this have and are using Solle products. So if you have a testimonial, we would love to hear from you. That's what keeps us going. So please share your story and stories of hope, or to the person who invited you, so that they can share it with the rest of us. We want to thank you for joining us tonight. If you'd like to get 15-minute reminders about this presentation every Monday night, just text HOPE to the number on your screen. You can join the Stories of Hope group on Facebook. They have testimonies. There are the links to events, lots of amazing information on there, you guys. So check it out, text HOPE, and thanks again for joining us tonight, and we'll see you next time. Have a great night.